Hello and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, where we help dads create a healthier and less traumatic divorce. Today, we are going to talk about something that I feel is the absolute best possible thing that you can do for yourself during divorce. Actually, I would say even in general and in life. And I've got somebody, my guest today is going to take us through this. He's phenomenal with this. But first, I just wanted to mention that the Dad's Divorce Blueprint course is coming up on August 22nd. Go to dadsdivorceblueprint.com, check it out. Also, the divorce quiz is still up, an awesome tool on the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com to kind of help you gauge where you're at in your divorce, mentally and emotionally, compared to other people that have gone through a divorce. People are taking it every day. Tens of thousands of people have taken it, not on my site, but in general, this quiz across the world, and it is so beneficial. So check those things out, and hopefully we'll be in touch about those. All right. So what is the best thing that you could possibly be doing for yourself during this? And my guest today is the founder of Awakened Man, and he's also the host of Band of Brothers. He's appeared on the show before. Alain Dumonceaux, thanks for being here again today.
Thank you so much, Jude. Really appreciate you having me on today.
Man, so I read your article, and the minute I read it about journaling, which is, I think, the super skill that we can develop. And I'm just saying this now because I'm still an amateur at it, but I've seen so many benefits to doing this. And we were just talking earlier about, I feel now that it is the equivalent of, they say, go get exercise every day for 30 minutes, cardiovascular, because it's going to help your heart. It's going to help everything. It's going to help your mental, emotional state, everything. I feel that this is the skill, mentally and emotionally, that's equivalent to going out and getting exercise every day.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you, Jude, on that. And I think the key that's important about that is, as you're saying about working our bodies, this is an opportunity for us to really work and refine our mindset and get clear. And we'll touch on that in a little bit, but it's really important that we start this practice of journaling. And it's not necessarily an easy thing for men to get into. And part of it is because we think that it's a feminine thing to do, right? Like that's something that my wife's going to do or my girlfriend's going to do. But really, it's a practice that lots of famous men have done in the past, and it's something that we need to learn how to do. So
I did not know that, which made me feel much cooler when I did that. Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca. Now I've read all of them. Some great, amazing thinkers, right? That you'd say these men were brilliant. They all journaled.
Absolutely. And probably the most famous of them all is Marcus Aurelius's works and meditation. Like Meditations, that book is his journal. And now, of course, he didn't write that thinking, well, in 2,000 years from now, someone's going to be reading my stuff. It was his way, though, to really deal with stuff. And I think it's important for men, we need to understand why we choose not to journal, right? And we make that decision. I know for me is that I just felt insecure about it. I felt insecure about, well, what am I going to write about? And putting my feelings down. And I don't necessarily have great penmanship. So sometimes we think that, well, I'm going to write it tomorrow. I won't even be able to read it. But that's really not, those are really poor excuses to not do it. And I think it's important that we realize that many famous men, like when I was preparing the article, like everybody from Mark Twain, Edison, Darwin, and George Lucas. Do you know George spent 8 hours a day journaling as he was writing and creating Star Wars? Like think about that, for 8 hours. Like there's just so many famous people that we just don't realize have spent time really focusing on getting their minds clear on doing that practice of journaling.
Yeah, you just described all the excuses that I used for many years. and then now I just think, I couldn't survive without doing it. And it's just so much more helpful. And I also wanted to note to the listeners that if you go to theawakenedman.net, you can click on blog and read this article. It will link it to the show notes below, but we'll everything we're going to discuss today, we're going to talk about is in that article. So if you want to print it out, here, I got it. I printed it off, man. I'm gonna
Right on,
keep
brother.
it. So, especially when we get into, the how to do it thing, because I'm still trying to refine that. But so let's talk initially here about why it is important and what are the benefits. Okay, we talked about why we're not doing it, but why is it important and what are the benefits?
Well, one of the big things I think is important of why we should consider journaling is that it helps us work through problems. And so when you have a challenge or a problem that you're facing and we keep it in our heads, this thing gets really big. And when it gets to be so large, it can also end up by becoming very draining for us. But when we start to write it down and think about it, so I want guys to think about when we talk about journaling, this doesn't necessarily mean sitting down in the morning or in the evening, although that's what I would recommend doing it and putting your thoughts in. But even just grabbing a scratch pad and working out the problem that you're dealing with, you're journaling, guys. At that moment, you're starting to journal. So I think it's important. The other thing is that it's an opportunity for us, like I said, to focus and improve different aspects of our lives. So another famous U.S. man that used to journal was Ben Franklin. Now, Ben used to journal about, he's famous for his 13 virtues, right? He had this goal in his life to have this moral virtue, like a perfection. And so what Ben would do is he created this cool little table. So on the left-hand column were his 13 virtues, and then across the top was the 7 days of the week. And all he would do is put a dot beside the column and the day of when he was in violation of one of his virtues. Simple. He didn't write anything necessarily about it. He just little dot. And it became something that was quite synonymous with who he was as a man. And of course, as he got older and his life got busier, those things fell aside for him. But the point was that it made such a profound impact on who he was as a person that he used something as simple as just a simple tracking system with dots for journaling.
Right. And so just so people don't think, Alain and Jude are sitting here talking about this stuff and it's crazy. There's studies now that are really showing and proving that this is helping people and how it can help people, correct?
100%, absolutely. Like Harvard Business Review did a study from the school there, and what they found out was that those people that journaled at the end of the day had a 25% increase in their overall performance.
Wow.
When you think about that, right? Because the things that we're working on, when we do put pen to paper, and there's other ways to do that, we'll get into it, but when we do write down, we're actually working through our challenges or working through the problem. The other thing they're finding out is that when we do spend time to journal, that it improves our well-being. It decreases stress for us, right? It helps us be able to process things, because when we internalize it and we keep it there, it can tend to become really difficult for us. And I do have a future article coming out that deals specifically with that. Wow. And then the writing also helps us, as I've said a couple of times now, it helps us get clear. So we get a clear mind, a clear thinking. But the benefit of that is that then we can speak more clearly. And we can get our points across more clearly, because writing forces us to really get into a clear mindset, right?
Right. And during a divorce, and for those who are going through a divorce now, it really helps to sort out the chaotic time that is going on, because it's so much uncertainty, so much going on. It's really it can be, I know it was for me, unbelievably overwhelming at times, between emotions and court and dealing with a soon-to-be ex, and then you have you got to do work, right? You got to still do that, and you still have children, and so it really can help in refining what you want. So that's that is awesome. I wish, again, I'm saying it 100 times to guys listening, that I wish I had done it years and years ago. Just do it. But how do we get started on this? What are some tips for starting it the first time? And I know I started and stopped until I finally got a way to do it. But how do you get started?
Yeah, I think the big thing to get started is just start small. No one's saying that to journal, you have to sit there for half an hour every day or 2 hours and write 3 pages worth of, really thought-provoking information. Just get started small, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. One of the things I recommend is just write down 3 things that you're grateful for. That can be an real easy start. And if that's still a bit of a challenge, you're trying to figure out, well, I don't know what to write about. Like my first journal was a book produced by Mind Journal, and it's called This Book Will Make You Dangerous. It's actually just sitting behind me. It's the second one going, and I keep it on my desk because it gives me an opportunity when I have an idea to put some stuff down. Now, those guys did a great job because they actually script the pages out and they don't put any dates on. So it's not like you're forced where you kind of maybe feel, wow, it's Friday the 13th. I need to journal today. Hey, if you don't feel like journaling today, that's okay. Just take a moment, sit down with the book and start. And this is my second one now that I've started. And I just find it's just a great way to get yourself started and get settled in. I don't have to think about what I'm going to write about. They give me the idea and I just write on that.
Right. And what is that one called?
This book is called This Book Will Make You Dangerous. And so here's what it looks like.
Okay.
This book will make you dangerous, and it's by Mind Journal. This book will make you stronger. This book will make you dangerous is a different gentleman's book. This book will make you stronger. And like I said, it's really well thought out and easy start for most guys.
Well, we'll link that to the show notes below for those who are listening and can't see the book, but it's This Book Will Make You Stronger. So similar to starting an exercise regimen, right? You're not going to go in and you're going to start, doing an hour of cardio and then you're going to be lifting hundreds of pounds. You're going to start small.
You're going to start really small.
Maybe 5 minutes.
5 minutes, right? One thing, like I said, the easiest thing to do is write one thing you're grateful for, or one thing that went really well today. The key is not to put any parameters on the writing. Some days you may find, I know for me, some days I find the flow, I can write lots. Now, I do some journaling in the book, but I also use a different medium and use a Word document as well. So there's different ways we can do that, but it's just start small. Don't put any expectations on it, any parameters around how much or how little. Just start small.
Right. And then you mentioned earlier about morning and night. So maybe I found this was beneficial to me is scheduling it in, right? Just like exercise, man, we're so busy, like all the stuff I described. If you schedule it in and make it a point, and I do like first thing in the morning when I get in the office, I schedule the time. I've got the time scheduled in. Some people do it in the morning when they wake up, and I've heard significant benefits to doing that because your subconscious has been working through the night, and it's one of the best times for you to get stuff out that your subconscious has been working on. I've also heard at night before you go to bed, because you can review your day and then set up your day for before. Ideally, you're like doing all of that, right? But I don't know about you. That's just too much for me yet. Okay, yeah. I'm still building that muscle. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's a great point that you bring up about picking different times of the day. My journaling has really transferred over to a morning ritual more than an evening ritual. And so I'm one of the parts of my journaling is really morphed now. For this last few weeks, I've been in this course and it's on visioning. And so my journaling is all about what I'm receiving or during my meditation practice. And so I'm writing notes about that. And they're really brief. It's just really, really brief. And it takes about 15 minutes. Whereas I find that as things morph for us, you'll find time that works better for you. And I absolutely agree. Scheduling that last, at the start of the morning in your ritual or some part of your evening ritual is a great way to ensure that you get the practice in place. And like you said, just don't beat up on yourself. If you didn't happen to do it today, that's fine. Come back to it and just keep going.
Right. Have some self-compassion. Just like missing a day in the gym, it's okay. It's sometimes you have to, sometimes you need to take a day off. Sometimes it just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah. There's many times I sit in my morning ritual that just nothing's coming, and that's okay. And so that's all right. Again, it's about removing the parameters. Again, I think it's one of those reasons why we choose not to journal. Well, I don't know what I'm going to say today. That's okay. You don't have to have necessarily something predetermined.
Right. And so let's talk about that then in facilitating. You mentioned the book. Let's talk about a medium for doing that, because the book obviously is a good medium. It kind of guides you. It's self-explanatory. You don't have to think about stuff.
Yeah.
I know that I went back and forth, in my resistance to doing this and accepting the benefits of it in my life. I went back and forth between writing, because what you described, I have horrible handwriting. And like, you could literally, I'm putting thoughts down, but I couldn't even go back. I could barely go back and read them. I can decipher all the symbols in there that are supposed to be letters, but nobody else could, which actually makes good, I guess, if anybody finds my journal. But anyway, but then I started typing like on the computer. I tried like all different things. How do we pick a medium?
Yeah.
Or what's a best medium?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, about some of us might have a security issue, right? I talked about insecurities at the start today.
Mm-hmm.
And so we may want to move to more of a digital format. And maybe writing still isn't great for you, but just as we're doing today, there's technology that exists. And I mentioned in the article about using Otter. Otter is an outstanding piece of software that will transcribe everything that you're saying. You can just talk. It's like the old dictaphones. Remember those, the handhelds folks would walk around with? It's the same idea. And so you can use that. You can use an actual notepad. Maybe it's something smaller that you keep on your body, or a Word document, or an Excel, or Excel. Thinking about something else here for a moment. Word document or Google Docs, and you can password protect it to allow you to make sure that you have that security, that nobody sees it other than yourself. And the nice thing about Google Docs is that you can log into that anywhere you are, as long as there's a Wi-Fi connection. So maybe inspiration comes for you and you're elsewhere, you're on vacation, and you're getting inspirations and you want to write something down. Google Docs is a great place to do that. And of course, with today's technology on our phones, there's notes in there. There's again, you can, hey Siri, take this note, and then away you go. She's already got it there, and she starts to do that work. See, there's Siri already talking.
Siri, just say her name. That's crazy. So that was my thing. Is then with the mediums that you just described, there is no excuse, right? Not I'm too busy, because I have Google Docs on my phone. And I know that I have 5 minutes waiting to pick up my kids, or screwing off surfing the internet, or reading the news, or checking emails. There's absolutely no excuse for me. What I did find, for me at least, was putting pen to paper. There was, I don't know what it's if it's the tactile part of it, something that connects more for me in my brain, rather than putting it electronically with a keyboard, or a keyboard on my phone. But I guess I would just encourage, it's not so much, find what is comfortable for you, but you're probably going to find something that's convenient. I also like the typing, because I can type much faster and my brain goes much faster than I can write, which is a huge problem for me. So, but I finally settled, and then some of that I think was learning to slow down, to really put my thoughts down. So I would say, and tell me what you think about this, try different things, right? Try the book and the structure, try journaling in a spiral. Like I've got just my spiral notebook. I don't know where it's somewhere in this office, spiral notebook that I keep, or some like Benjamin Hardy is a psychologist who talks a lot about this, and his notes are like crazy. He draws diagrams and stuff, and his stuff I can't even really follow. There's another journaling, and so for me now, I just have a specific prompt, and this, like, my next point is what do we journal about? So like mine is just number one, gratitude list. That's the number one, and you mentioned that earlier, which is, if you're going to do anything and you just want to spend 5 minutes, do a gratitude list, like a list of things that you're grateful for, and whatever it is. It can be, you're grateful to have a cell phone, right, that you can communicate with people. It can be really simple. It doesn't have to be profound stuff. It just keeps your mind in the right direction. And then the second prompt is what would make today a great day. Third prompt was a quote, something that's a motivational quote for the day.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one is just any thoughts or feelings that I'm having. So that's what I'm at now, but
Nice.
it can change.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are great things, right? And I think one of the keys that I want to bring out in there is that you talked about, it doesn't have to be profound. And I think that's another deterrent for a lot of us guys. You think, well, I have to write and be like Marcus Aurelius. Well,
yeah, right.
we're probably not going to be. I'm sorry to say that, gentlemen, but it's probably not going to happen. But it
I
is
can
important.
assure you, if you read my journal, like Benjamin Franklin and Marcus Aurelius, it is never going to get published and transverse the millennia. Yeah. So
and maybe there's a good
doesn't have to,
and maybe that's good
reasons.
For all of us.
Yeah, it is good for all of us.
And I think that's what's important, right? I think the key is that we're working through some things. And so some of the tips that I have about what to journal about, and you've mentioned them about gratitude and other things, is like what went well today and what didn't go well. And so you can write about that. And now we want to be careful. We don't want to dwell on too much on that, because I think some of us also may have this impression that if we're going to, what we're journaling about are all our problems. And so we continue to rehash that. And that's not what you want to do. You want to identify that you have a problem, but what are you doing to work through it? Really is the focus on how can you work through it. And you can write about things that are important to you. Like, what are the things that really resonate with you and are important for you as an individual? And we talked about being grateful, and you can even be your own mentor. Like, we have so much life experience. And if we were our own mentor, what would we say to our younger self? Or to a young man that's going through divorce and are on the brink of divorce, and you've been there, and just like you're doing now, Jude, right? Those are such powerful things that you could put down in your journal. And you could just think, you could even write down things that people that you wish people knew about you. Like, I'm sure we have dozens of things that people, boy, they only knew this about Alain. Wouldn't that be great? Right. And of course, pride and things that make you feel good about who you are as an individual.
Yeah, it's just a tool that you can utilize in so many different manners and so many different ways. The other way that sometimes I suggest utilizing it is if you're working in therapy or with a coach like you and I, is that's helpful in putting your thoughts together to be able to have a effective session. Right. Absolutely. So that helps in knowing where you're at. It's it puts those, that thoughts down somewhere and then helps you look back. Now, let me ask you this about going back and reading. Do you go back and read? Do you use it as a resource? Do you kind of, or do you just kind of write it and set it aside and then you're done?
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to do that part where I would just write it and set it aside. But since I was taking this class, one of the things they asked us to do in our journaling journey was to go back and reflect on themes. What's coming out of our writing? So what's happening in our writing? What's happening when we're writing about things that aren't working well, and what's going on around that? What kind of style are we writing in? Like, are we more of a negative or an optimistic person? What are the things that are coming out that seem to affect us more than others? And you'll start to see these themes over the course of several weeks when you get into writing. I would suggest letting give an opportunity to build a bank of notes that you can go back to refer, and you'll start to pull out things about yourself that maybe you were unconscious of because it's just become who you are. Right. And then once you see it written or typed, or you're hearing yourself, because you could do an audio journal as well, that you can pick up things. Wow, I didn't realize that I think a lot about cars. Like, is there anything else more interesting in my life than just cars? No, maybe cars are a great thing, but you may find that your focus is in areas of life that are of importance to you, and the ones that are of importance you're not doing anything about. So you say that you are, but your thoughts and your journal notes aren't really showing that that's the case.
Right. It can just be another tool, particularly during this stressful time, that helps you make some self-assessments and to grow.
Absolutely.
By going back. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's really part and parcel of what we're trying to do here, right? Because ultimately, we may think that our lives are boring and dull and we have nothing really to offer, and we're teasing and joking about being a Marcus Aurelius and, and Franklin. But think about it. If you ever saw, your grandfather's journal, what were the things that he would be writing about? Like things
Yeah.
that we wished we would have experienced, and what would that have been like? That's what's happening with our grandchildren if they had an opportunity to read about our stuff and about who we are, right?
That's awesome. Alain, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate you coming back again. So
Thank you.
You're a regular now. This makes
Thank
you a
you.
regular, I think, like 3 times, right?
3 times now,
So,
yeah.
but you keep putting out so much phenomenal content. I get your emails. I read your blogs. You got the new podcast that's launched as well. Let everybody know how they can get in contact with you and get involved with what you've got going on, because there's so many fantastic resources.
Yeah, absolutely. They can best way to reach out to me is to go to my website at theawakenedman.net. Right there on the homepage, you'll get everything you need to know about what I'm all about. I'm just about ready to launch our next intake for the Band of Brothers. That's our men's circle. So there'll be lots of information coming out about that in the next few weeks. And so that would be the best place. And my podcast is the Evolving Man Podcast. And you can find those notes at the website as well.
That's fantastic. And as always, if you found some value in this and listening or watching, please, number one, share it. Take a minute and share it with other men, share it with anybody that's going through a challenging time or a divorce. If you're not going to share it, just like us or subscribe to us to continue to get more of this information. That'll just help you. If you can write a review or a comment, that helps us immensely to just get more people involved in it. So we appreciate you listening. Alain, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, brother. Welcome. Thank you.
Take care.